Hello folks, and upon common request, here you have an old Rusty video, part number 1, covering the preparation of the chassis for its final shell blasting. Afterwards we'll paint it. There's going to be about 4 episodes on this, and this is the first one. Now I've been warning you for a while that this could be very boring, because working on old Rusty is always the same. It's cleaning up things, it's spraying them or welding them and then putting it all back together. And on the chassis, there's quite a bit of work. So in this episode, we're going to take off a couple of things off the chassis, and in the following episode, we're going to continue removing additional parts from the chassis and then start to shell blast it. In the third episode, we're going to paint it. And in the fourth one, hopefully we can reassemble things and try to install the engine if possible. Hello folks, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. And in this video we go into work on Old Rusty. Old Rusty is a truck built in 1949. It's a 4-ton truck by Citroën, also known as a U23 or a T23. About 7 years ago I was able to rescue the truck from the scrapyard. It was about to be pressed into one metal block. I got it for €500. The engine has been rebuilt. And equally, the cabin was rebuilt and repainted in maroon red and awaiting to be installed on the thing we go in to prepare now, which is the frame. For once, I'm a bit lucky because the frame is in a very good condition. There are a few spots where we have to do a bit of welding, but not too much. And as you notice, the frame has been put together with big rivets. And rivets are having the big benefit of leaving the frame to be a bit flexible, and the frame of a truck has to be flexible. It also removes the stress points where you normally have welding seams. And you don't have the issue with heat zones on steel when you weld, because then the metal is going to get brittle in these areas and it may crack. Not with rivets. So that's why they're putting trucks together in the old days with rivets. And in fact, they still do it today. The same thing goes even for airplanes today. And as you can see, the structure looks quite all right. There are a few spots where I might have to cut out this piece of metal here and weld in a new piece of thick material. I don't think I'm going to remove the rivets, because that would be difficult for me to put them back, because I don't have rivets like this. So I might as well weld a panel up here. Metal supports that have been welded on it to support the deck, I guess, in the back. But these will have to go, because I don't even know what kind of a deck I'm going to use. So I might as well get rid of that and then build new ones later on. But before I can really shot blast the frame, I will have to remove a lot of parts, and the rear axle is one of them. And that is including the drive shaft. And this is the manual brake lever normally inside the cabin. And that still seems to work. The manual brake, this is coming from the lever, and there's a bar at the bottom. And then this is going to pull that steel cable. So that's this cable right here, which is going all the way in there. And I don't know how to release this yet, but we'll figure that out. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of dirt and debris on this. And this is years and years of grease all dried up together with dirt. And then I will have to disconnect the hydraulics brakes, because this truck already has hydraulics brakes. Now these hoses, they really had their best time. But still, I want to make sure that I keep all these parts intact, so it makes it easier to put it all back together later. And that's also why I'm recording everything. And here we have that hose for the hydraulics, which are going inside the drum for the slave cylinder for the brakes. And here I have the brake fluid reservoir, which is then connected to the master brake cylinder. We've got a pedal right here. This is the clutch, and it's pivoting on the same axle or shaft as the brake pedal. It feels like it's really stuck inside the master brake cylinder. Let's see if we move this around. You can see that it's trying to move right here, but it doesn't do a hell of a lot. And then we have the muffler, or whatever is left over of it. You know, it's really knackered and cracked all over the place, so that has to be a new one anyway. But nevertheless, we will have to remove all this. Typically, these trucks were 2.5 tons, but this one is a 4 ton. And you can see that actually on the big leaf springs that we have here in the back. So I'm not going to disconnect them from the rear axle in the beginning. I'm going to take the complete rear axle off first, roll it out, and then do a complete revision of all that completely separate. Now what I noticed on the rear axle is that it's been painted actually in the color green or khaki, like from the army. And I've seen this on different other sports as well. So this truck certainly must have been part of the army at one moment in time. Not quite sure which army that was, maybe the German army during the Second World War, or the French army, or whatever. But of course 1949 is after the war, but that's when the paper or the truck was registered on a French name, so maybe it existed before. Removing the rear axle is not going to be very hard. There's a nut in the back here, so I can take this whole thing out and I'm just going to lower that down. I need to support the chassis, of course, when I do so, but I already have some stands on it, so that shouldn't be that difficult to do. I've been looking around for numbers on the frame, and I found one which is 846, but that doesn't tell me very much. Maybe if you guys know what it means, it's fine. There's another plaque on the frame somewhere else, and maybe there will be some other numbers somewhere else, and I might spot them once I start the shot blasting. Now, there's another plaque. There's a plaque in the front, and it says something like André Citroën, Paris, and then I think I see also a serial number on that. So that's maybe the right thing. I don't know, maybe that's the final serial number. It doesn't match up with the other number on the frame, but maybe that's a separate frame number. But this number certainly matches up with the gray card I have. So once I have removed all the parts on the frame, then I can start shot blasting it. And I will shot blast it with Garnet 200. This is the pile of Garnet I have. So that will be more than enough to shot blast that frame. It won't be that much. And after that, I will actually put a primer on the metal, and I will paint it in black. And I'm not sure if this is all going to be in this video. I mean, taking it apart alone will take me quite some time. I guess I got to start somewhere, so I'm going to take off the exhaust. And here we got the front mount. If everything is going to loosen up like this, then I will be done in no time by dismantling this. The manual brake system is quite interesting. This is the part that's coming from the front lever in the cabin, and that is pulling this big round bar here backwards, and on the sides we have the cables going to the respective left and rear wheels. And this bar pivots in the support and on the sides. So what I need to do now is to remove all this and keep track of what everything is. So the nuts on the studs, so that way I'm not going to lose anything, because I'm going to need all this afterwards. This split pin is holding this bar in place where the manual brake system is on, so I'm just going to clean it a little bit more. So I can get it out. All right, let's see if we can get this out. I like to keep things together, so that makes it easier afterwards to reassemble it. Of course, I will have to clean all this before we put it all back together. It's pretty weird to see that some bolts are metric and other bolts are Imperial. Very strange. It's weird. So these bolts here were 9/16. So I just wonder if it's because it was short after the war that they were short of metric bolts, that they got imports from the US, and that's why they used Imperial size bolts. I wouldn't be surprised. And now it's time for the lever for the manual brake. And I'm not sure how it's held in place. Yeah. 1, 2, 3 bolts. I think that's about it. And it looks pretty dirty. I wonder what size those are. Yeah, that's a 9/16. Yep, 9/16. And now it's time for the fuse box, which is held in place here and here, and that should be it.
You got that one wrong, Steve. That's a battery box.
Not sure if this is again a 9/16, but it sure looks like it. Yep. I'm always surprised about these bolts, how nicely they release. I hope it stays like this. The battery box doesn't look too bad. I think I can just reuse it, clean it all up, and then see how it looks like. And if it's okay, then we get it painted and we reinstall it. You know, it's always nice to keep things as original as possible. All right, so it's time for the master brake cylinder to remove that one. I think I will disconnect this first. Okay, all right. So now it's a matter of disconnecting this split pin here in the back. So here we have a split pin which is holding the lever to the master brake cylinder. Now it's fairly easy. Right. All right. So the next thing up is to try to remove the 3 bolts that are holding the master brake cylinder in place. Some are easy to get at, others are more difficult to get at. We are back to metric. All right. So this is a pretty big master cylinder. Hopefully it's still not too much corroded inside, because I didn't see any braking fluid coming out when I disconnected the back plug. And this is really stuck. So that's going to be a little bit of a job as well to recondition all this. So I probably need to open that up here, and you can see how rusted that is. But I'm sure if we go into shot blast it, we're going to get this a lot cleaner, and hopefully we can recover it. So now it's time to remove the pedals, and they are pivoting on an axle right there, but that's held in place with this bracket and those 2 nuts here. So again, this is not metric, but Imperial. There we go, the pedal box. I called it the pedal box, but basically it's just a shaft with two pedals on. This pedal right here is the brake, and that one is the clutch, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is, because those two bars are going to the gearbox or the bell housing. Let's see if we can get the drive shaft disconnected. All right. So I guess the next thing I will have to do is to remove this flange so I can take this bar out.
So folks, this is the end of part 1 in restoring the frame of Old Rusty. More is to come very soon, and thank you for viewing.